All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tear into the big ideas from Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. This is all about unlocking that massive, untapped potential we've all got. So let's jump right in.
So the book kicks off with this wild story. Picture this. A guy's flying his own helicopter over Los Angeles, right? He glances down and suddenly he sees a building that just stops him in his tracks. Why? Because that's the exact same building where, only 12 years before, he was working as a janitor.
I mean, talk about a night and day difference, right? You go from just scraping by, fearful, driving this old beat-up car, to being the CEO, totally confident, flying your own jet helicopter. That one moment just perfectly captures a life that has been completely transformed.
So you gotta ask, how on earth does a change that radical happen in just over a decade? Was it just some lucky break? Did he win the lottery? Well, the book argues that no, it's not about luck. It's about something way more fundamental. A power that's actually available to every single one of us.
And that's the absolute core of this whole thing. The idea that we all have this sleeping giant inside us, this unlimited potential. But for so many of us, that giant is just snoozing, totally dormant, because we've kind of forgotten how to consciously take the wheel and shape our own lives.
Okay, so how do you actually wake this giant up? Where do you even start? Well, the very first tool, the thing that kicks everything off, is understanding the incredible, life-changing power of a real decision.
And this quote really nails it. See, this wasn't just him saying, oh, I'd like to do better. This was a true decision. And what does that mean? It means you literally cut off any other possibility. You commit. You draw a line in the sand and say, this is my new standard, end of story.
If you think about it, most people just get swept along by whatever's happening around them. They're like a boat in a raging river with no oars, just going wherever the current takes them. But making a true decision, that's like planting both oars firmly in the water and saying, nope, I'm paddling this way. You start moving towards the destiny you want, not just the one you drifted into.
All right, so if a decision is what gets you out of the starting blocks, what's the fuel that actually keeps the engine running? What drives you day in and day out? Well, it all boils down to these two super powerful primal forces, pain and pleasure.
This is what's called neuroassociation, and it's basically the invisible wiring in your brain. Every single thing you do, and just as importantly, everything you don't do, is driven by your brain's automatic, unconscious mission to avoid pain and gain pleasure. This is the master force, the puppet master, pulling the strings on your entire life.
So that leads to a big question, right? Why do we put things off? Why do we stick with habits that we know are terrible for us? Well, the answer comes down to this super simple, lightning-fast calculation that our brain makes without us even realizing it.
And here's the absolute key to everything. Your brain, right now, unconsciously believes that the pain of making a change is greater than the pain of staying the same. Think about that. To really break out of a rut, you have to completely flip that mental equation on its head. And this is exactly how you create what the book calls leverage on yourself. First, you've got to consciously link massive, unbearable, gut-wrenching pain to not changing right now. Then, at the exact same time, you have to link massive, incredible pleasure to the feeling of finally taking action. It's that push and pull that gives you the force to break through inertia.
Okay, but what decides what we think is painful or pleasurable in the first place? That all comes from our internal blueprint, right? It's our core set of beliefs that basically acts as a filter for how we see the world and what we think is even possible for ourselves.
I love this analogy the book uses. It says an idea, all by itself, is like a tabletop, just floating in the air. It's got no legs. It's totally unstable and useless. So the real question is, how do you take a flimsy little idea and turn it into a solid, unshakable belief that actually makes you do things?
Simple. You build it one leg at a time. You start with that idea, right? Then you start looking for reference experiences, proof, evidence, reasons that support it. Each one of those is like adding a solid leg to your tabletop. And once you have enough legs under it, that wobbly idea isn't an idea anymore. It's a solid belief, something you can stand on. So what directs that search for proof? What tells your brain what to look for? It's your focus. And the absolute most powerful way to control your focus instantly is by changing the questions you're asking yourself. I mean, think about it. If you ask, why am I such a loser? Your brain will find you an answer. But if you ask, what can I learn from this? Your brain immediately starts looking for opportunities. Questions are the steering wheel of your mind.
This ancient wisdom, ask and you will receive, it's all about this.
It's about the power of directed focus. And to really see how potent this is, let's look at an incredible real-life story where a single question, in one critical, high-stakes moment, completely changed someone's destiny.
And here it is, the whole process in action. Bo Jackson, 13 years old, gets knocked out by a bully. He's furious. He wants revenge. He goes and gets his mother's gun to go find the kid. But right at that critical moment, he asks himself a different question. What will happen to me if I pull this trigger? In that split second, his focus shifted. His brain linked massive, unbearable pain to that action. Jail, a ruined life. That one question changed everything, and he went on to become one of the greatest athletes ever.
So there you have it. We've basically unpacked the core engine for making real, lasting change in your life. And this isn't just some feel-good theory. This is a practical, honest-to-goodness toolkit for getting in the driver's seat and shaping your own destiny.
So let's recap. Here's your toolkit for change, all in one place. Number 1, make a real decision, one that cuts off all other options. 2, use pain and pleasure as your leverage to push you into action. 3, control your focus by asking better, more empowering questions. And 4, consciously build the beliefs that are going to support the life you actually want to live.
And that quote just brings us full circle, doesn't it? What a difference a decade can make. The potential for that kind of massive, life-altering change is absolutely real. It's not magic, it's built, decision by decision, in the small moments of every single day.
And this might be the most important thing to remember from all of this. If you don't actively make decisions about how you're going to live, well, you've actually already made a decision. You've made the passive decision to let your environment, your old habits, and other people's agendas run your life for you.
You know, taking control of your life really just means taking control of your focus and your energy. Look at where most people's time goes. A ton of it is on stuff that feels urgent but isn't really important. The real magic, the real progress, happens in that smaller slice, the important but not urgent stuff. That's where you build your future. The choice every day is, are you just reacting or are you building?
So when it all comes down to it, all of these ideas, all these tools, they all lead to this one final question for you. That giant inside of you, it's there, it's waiting. So what are you going to decide to do today? Thanks for watching.